Again, friends, if you could let the family acknowledge that you're here and then have a seat, we will begin. We need to begin the services. Make sure that. That's how you just refer yours. Yeah, just on Tuesday. That's okay, okay. Okay. Huh? Right. You're like kind of like nice and peace. Friends, we are going to begin the services now. If everyone will have a seat, please. We are going to begin the funeral for Mrs. Allana Marks. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you kindly to place it in the silent mode at this time or turn it completely off. I'd also like to welcome friends visiting us on live stream. On behalf of the family, thank you. And services will be conducted by Cantor Rabbi Rab Jury of Congregation Anshe Tikva.
Adonai lenegdi tamid ki mimini balemot. I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side and I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart can exult, for my soul can rejoice. My being is eternally secure. For you will not abandon me to everlasting death, nor let your faithful ones see eternal destruction. For you show me the path of everlasting life. Your presence brings enduring happiness, for this is your gift. death has stolen away our beloved Allana. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation, and in their tears, there's loneliness. Lost in sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends and family. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For it was Allana's love that united us in life, which death cannot sever. For the gifts of her heart and her mind, which brought us such joy, that continue now through the tenderness of memory. For all of those precious gifts and more, we give thanks to God. In times of grief and loss, we look for nearness and newness and a message from God that it will be okay, that we can receive comfort, that we will find peace. We turn to our sacred scriptures seeking that message. It is my great honor as we seek that message from our scriptures to invite my esteemed colleague, Chazan Storr of Congregation Beth Shalom, Eric and Marnie's Chazan, to come forward to offer one of those words of comfort in song.
I appreciate the rabbi's courtesy that he's offering to me. And I do pray for your family that your beloved's presence will always be much more profound than her absence. Adonai roi lo echsar b'noteh sheyar b'tzeni Aleme menuchot, alme menuchot, yinahaleini. Nafshi yeshovet, yanecheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo. גם כי ילך בגד צלם מוות לא ירא כי אתה עמדי שבתך משענתך המה ינחמוני תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי Deshanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Aktov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shaveti b'vet Adonai leorech yamim. The translation of this psalm is in the booklets that you have before you. Please add your voices to the service by reading along. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thank you, Rabbi.
Beautiful to hear words of comfort lifted up in song. As we continue to seek words of comfort, I can't help but to think about Allana and to think of Proverbs 31, which reads, "A woman of valor, who can find? She is more precious than rubies and sweeter than the sweetest wine. Her husband trusts in her, and so she lacks nothing. She does him good and never harm all the days of her life. She perceives her labor as rewarding, and her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and in dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children, they rise up and they bless her. Her husband sings her praises. For many daughters have done valiantly, but you excel them all. In our grief and in our loss, we cry out like Job, Adonai Natan, Vadonai Lakach, Yehishem Adonai Mavoach. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken away. As an ancient people of faith, we say, blessed be the name of God. Let us take a moment for silent prayer and personal reflections, lifting up in our hearts some of our dearest memories of Allana. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable unto you, our rock and our redeemer. Together we say, Amen, Amen. We come to words of hesped, words of eulogy, words of remembrance. It's my honor to call forward first to share some memories of his beloved mother, Eric.
Thank you all for being here today to honor the life of my mother. Standing here, I feel an incredible mix of emotions: grief for her passing, gratitude for years of happy and healthy time she enjoyed, and reflection on the complex yet beautiful relationship we shared. Mom became a mother when she gave birth to me at just 21 years old, a fact she never let me forget. Every year on my birthday, she would joke, "I'm way too young to have a son your age." Of course, I would always reply back with some sort of snappy or sarcastic comment. That was the dynamic between us, always full of humor, warmth, but along with quite a bit of banter. Mom was sharp. She loved showing she was the smartest person in the room, and more often than not, she was. She took that sharpness and turned it into something meaningful, first as a teacher, and later when she built a thriving tutoring practice of her own. I can't tell you how proud I always felt when I'd meet one of her former students who'd sing her praises about the support and guidance she gave them. It wasn't just academic help she offered. She inspired them to believe in themselves. That's who my mom was, someone who cared deeply about helping them succeed. Mom was also extremely resilient. That strength was never more evident than a couple of years ago when what should have been a routine back surgery turned into the fight of her life. A severe infection set in, and for a time we weren't sure if she would make it. It was a year-long ordeal to cure the infection, a year filled with relentless treatments, grueling medication, and pain that no one should have to endure. The drugs that saved her life took a toll, not only on her body, but for a time on her sharp, quick mind. Yet despite it all, she refused to give up. She fought her way back, and after a year in a hospital bed, she managed to do something remarkable. She learned to walk again. Even though her recovery was unsustainable in a cruel way, it was a testament to who she was, someone who faced life's toughest moments with determination. Recently, I was in New York on a business trip, and in the evening, I took a walk around Greenwich Village, where she grew up and where my grandparents lived. Mom was always very proud of her New York roots and having been raised in the Village. I called her after wandering those familiar streets, and for the first time in ages, we didn't discuss her medical issues. Instead, we laughed and shared stories of her parents and memories of time spent together in that special place with those special people. That phone call felt like a gift, a reminder of the connection and love we shared together. While I will miss her, I find some comfort in knowing she's back with her parents and, of course, her most obedient child, Princess. I like to think of her there at peace, surrounded by love and no longer burdened by pain.
We now invite up Bill to share some memories of his mom.
This is 2 copies. I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to all of you for joining us today to honor the life of my mother. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Allana's youngest son, Bill. My mother would not be surprised to learn that I'm writing this eulogy at the 11th hour, having procrastinated until the very last minute. She was always my meticulous proofreader and editor, and her talent as a writer was truly remarkable. We have lost not only a skilled proofreader and editor, but also a mother, a grandmother to my children and nieces and nephews, a loving wife of 47 years to my father, and one of the most powerful women I have ever known. She was an unwavering advocate for our family and a force of nature. One of the most cherished memories I hold dear is the countless times we traveled together with my parents. My mother had an insatiable love for travel, and whenever we found ourselves near the ocean, we had the opportunity to create unforgettable memories. We shared countless delicious meals and laughed together as we explored new places. I'm certain my siblings were envious of the international travel we embarked on. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have experienced the world with my parents. My mom, no matter where we were on any trip, could make a meal out of ice cream. She absolutely adored her ice cream, especially chocolate with other chocolate. Mom's love for dogs was another great quality of hers. When she was a child in New York, she had a poodle named George, whom she adored. When I was born, we had Brandy, a schnauzer, in the house. After Brandy passed away, we quickly wanted to fill the void and got Princess, an apricot standard poodle that my mom loved immensely. Princess was the most loyal, loving, and obedient dog. I'll never forget the day we entered the Buffalo Grove Dog Show. I walked Princess, performed the tricks, and we won Best in Show. I think I was about 12 at the time. My mom came up to get the certificate and ended up in anaphylaxis in the back of an ambulance. It turned out she was allergic to bees. Growing up in New York City, something she was also proud of, had never been a factor in this allergy, as she had never been stung. There was a bee on the certificate. I guess I forgot to mention that. My mom also had an immense love for my children. After having numerous boys, she was delighted and thrilled to have 2 baby girls in the picture in addition to her other grandchildren. Whenever they visited her house, they would engage in activities like baking and having tea parties. They thoroughly enjoyed their time with Omi. I'm wearing this frog pin for my mom, who also had a fondness for frogs. The story goes that during their honeymoon, my mom had a shirt that read, "I kissed a lot of toads before I met my prince," while my dad's shirt said, "I'm the toad kisser." My mom's parents then gifted them a glass frog, which sparked their lifelong collection, which now I'm certain numbers in the hundreds. I plan to give one of these pins to each of my siblings. I had hoped to present them today, but sometimes things happen more quickly than we can anticipate. They're on their way, and they'll be with each of you. When I was a child, my parents called me Motor Mouth because I talk so much. Hard to believe. Now, as a parent myself, I sometimes understand their perspective. Despite the fact that there is so much more to say about her, I'm somewhat at a loss for words. My life changed in an instant this past weekend, and I wish more than anything that we had more time together. I miss her so much, and saying goodbye like this is just awful. She knew how much she was loved, though, and that is evident through everyone here today. Her memory will forever be a blessing.
Beautiful. Now my honor to invite up Allana's dear friend Abby to share some memories.
I met Allana 49 years ago, and we've been friends ever since. Like everyone else here today, I'm so sorry about the health challenges she faced the past several years, and so sad that she passed. But today, I want to remember what she passed on to us. Always the teacher, she taught me what it means to be a friend, about loyalty, with a lot of laughs along the way and some tears. We met in 1975 at Northeastern Illinois University. We had both just enrolled in graduate school. Allana sat in the front row like all the smart kids do. I sat in the back with the other kids. I always admired her long curls and her beautiful hands, and I noticed her hands because she was always waving them in the air, ready with the correct answer. I always teased her that she may have been the smartest as far as book smarts go, but I was the true smart one because I became her friend and she got me through graduate school. When we met, Allana was a single working mom of 2 young boys. My husband at the time was a realtor who tried fixing Allana up several times, but none of these guys were a good match. He met Al while listing Al's neighbor's house and found out he was a single dad, so of course he wanted to set them up. Allana wanted nothing to do with it this time, but he told her all the other dates were just the average house, so when the mansion came along, you'd know what the right guy was. She married that mansion in 1977. Should have been collecting mansions instead of frogs. Throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s and beyond, we've shared so much, especially each other's clothes. We celebrated New Year's Eve at 4:30 p.m. at Fritz That's It with our little kids, Passovers, break the fasts, and one bar mitzvah. We had a great weekend water rafting on the Eagle River. We always took care of each other's dogs when one of us vacationed. Every Thursday night for several seasons, my daughter Stacy and I would call Allana at every commercial of Knots Landing to discuss the plot and gossip about the fashions. And together we managed to eat more M&Ms and Dairy Queen Blizzards than we ever should have. At a difficult time in my life, Allana and Al took me in with my 3 little kids, one still in a crib and a dog, and I stayed with them for 2 weeks. I will never forget that kindness. These last few years have been so difficult for Allana and Al with all her health challenges and hospitalizations. But through it all, Al's care, love, and devotion to Allana have been a beautiful lesson that he's passed on to all of us. I will miss her and will cherish our memories.
It's my honor now to invite up Adam to share some memories of his teacher and friend.
Just thanks everybody for coming. I'm Adam Levy, and as has been brought up a couple of times, everybody knows that she was a teacher and she ran a tutoring business. So 13 years ago, and actually right around very close to this day, it was either the end of November or the beginning of December. I met someone that I had actually already known my whole life. What I mean by that is I went to a restaurant and ran into my good friend Bill. He was eating with his mom, who I had known, as Bill's mom for several years already. I grew up with Bill. I always knew she was an educator, and coincidentally, I had just started my career as one as well. We began talking, and by the end of our conversation, it appeared I was being hired to tutor math and science for her. So, obviously, getting another job, especially at the beginning of your career, is great. What I never could have imagined was how great it would be. Not only professionally, but more importantly, the relationship that would come from it. I worked with Allana for a decade. I'd be over at her house a few nights a week, every week, working with kids. It was not just a job. Allana and Al treated me as family all the time. I constantly ate dinner in between students with them and would hang out before and after shifts and just talk and hang out. Whether it was talking about kids or education or politics or our shared love of art and cinema and traveling or anything else, every conversation was wonderful with both Al and Allana. It was just great having a boss, and really by the end, really more of a partner and just a friend to hang out with. You know, how often do you hang out with your boss, really? In most cases, you know. I'm never going to have another work experience like it. Despite the fact that the last couple of years of tutoring wasn't at your place anymore. After COVID, I kind of started tutoring at the library and we went to a couple different places. And of course, she had her own health challenges over the last couple of years. That's always what I still think about. Like when I think about the joy, like how much I loved tutoring and how much I loved working with her. And that's like the image I have is the basement at your place. You know, when I think about tutoring. So that's what I'll always think about in regards to the job. But more importantly, the other thing that I'll always think about is that the fact that this experience led to me to two very good friends, Al and Allana. So, Allana, I know how I feel about you, and I think you know how I feel about you. And I know how you felt about me. Thank you. Just thank you for your intellectualism, your joy, your kindness on behalf of all the kids you worked with and all the other teachers that you worked with, your family, of course, everybody. And at least as far as I go, just thank you for what you gave me professionally, philosophically, and most important, what you gave me with your friendship. I will miss you and I love you. And I'm so glad that I met you for the second time. So, thanks.
Beautiful. Today we mourn the loss and celebrate a life of a wife, a mother, grandmother, a cousin, a teacher, a friend, the life of Allana. Allana was raised in the village, and when she said the village, she only meant one village, Greenwich Village. She was a proud New Yorker all the days of her life, always New Yorker at her heart. Her mother, Blanka, was a renowned singer from Zagreb, Croatia, and was the #1 singer in all of Yugoslavia until Hitler chased her out. She came to the United States and fell in love with William, who becomes Allana's father, William from Philadelphia. She grew up in a classic New York one-bedroom apartment the size of this podium. It was perfect. They took the one bedroom made at the living room, took what you walked into and split it into 2 bedrooms so they could have some semblance of privacy with a gorgeous view that overlooked a brick wall. True New York. But to Allana, she didn't care, you see. The city was her playground in her backyard. She learned to ride the subway before many people could speak, and as a young girl found ways to take advantage of all of the wonders of growing up in New York. She was graduated from the High School for Music and Arts and maintained friendships throughout her life with her fellow students from there. Allana went on to be graduated from Hunter College, receiving a master's degree from Northeastern Illinois not once but twice. She became a teacher first at Warren Township High School, building up the special education department to become its director. Then she went back and got her next master's degree, this time in educational administration. finding herself in a program dominated by men, where misogyny was meant to keep her down. Allana looked at it and had every pushback there was, graduating #1 in that class. She excelled in every way. I love the story of the fix-up that they tried to not have happen. When Allana met her love, Al, they were set up on that date. Neither of them wanted to go. They didn't believe mansioning was possible at all. And they reluctantly agreed to the date, saying, fine, people will leave us alone. Our friends will stop bothering us. So Al and Allana agree they'll meet up and maybe go out and then can be left alone. Al arrives, and of course, the house has an entrance on the side, not the front, so he goes to the back door thinking it's the front door. Allana, not so interested in this date either, has not done her hair, has the wrong kind of shoes, and all of the things. And the door opens, and the proverbial brick hits you on the head. And this was love. Al, you were bowled over by a gorgeous, brilliant woman. You decided you were actually going to go out and not just have a cup of coffee, and you go to some other place, which was a disco bar, and brilliantly you chose to take her there to show your romance on nickel night. Not necessarily the way to a woman's heart, but okay, there it was anyway. And you are talking so long, it occurs to you, maybe you should actually go somewhere and get a meal. And so Eddie Siegelman had a deli at the Old Century Theater, which had been turned into a mall, and you drive out and you have deli, the way to a New Yorker's heart. And Eddie, who loved singing opera, saw this vision you walked in with and sang opera to her all night, and on the way out pulled you aside and said, this one's a keeper. You already knew that. You dropped her off. You said, could I call you again? And she said, yes. And you said, is 20 minutes from now too soon? She said, no. And like a smitten young man you were, you went home and fell asleep and didn't call. It happens. But in the morning, you did call your mother, which, remember, call your mother. So you did call your mother, and you said you had met the woman you think you're going to marry. Turns out Allana went into work and told her colleagues at work she thought she had met the man she was going to marry. The rest was history. That fateful date, February 3rd, mere months later in August, you are married. You live a wonderful life together. So many driving trips with these kids who got all of the great driving trips for skiing, all the great driving trips to the motels, all the great driving trips where you would say, this is what it's like to put such a large blended family into a single motel room with 2 beds and floor sleeping of the best. And then they did that thing and had another kid. And that one gets the international travel and the cruises and there's no feelings about that at all. These trips were filled with such love, such amazing things, even a moment with a dumb waiter. You should ask about that at the Shiva. Al, Allana thought you were traveling too much. And so she told you, let's do something else. And you have a travel business together. And this way she could go with on all of these trips. And that's where the international travel and the cruising comes, as you have this amazing travel business. You going on the cruises, she's got a new outfit just so every night in the way only Allana could pull off. That classic gorgeous way, and the shoes. Oh, the shoes. And you and Bill with your matching tuxedos and bow ties. She loved it. She was in her element. It was a beautiful life. She goes on to have a successful tutoring business and mentors hundreds and hundreds of people, touching more lives and education than we can even imagine. I met Allana the first time, Adam, like you, when she was just Bill's mom. And I didn't know Allana. I knew Bill's mom, who was not happy we were always coming home after curfew. It was a time. I got to know Allana later as an adult about 20 years ago when she and Al became members of our congregation. And we got to know each other now, not as Bill's mom, but as the Allana so many of you know, this brilliant, sharp, amazing person, a person who would go on to edit my writings, a person who had a great idea and a thought to help guide us in leadership. Allana gets involved in the congregation in so many ways on all of these different committees. She becomes the chair of our council and is the chair of our council at some pivotal moments in our congregational life, helping to provide her leadership and guidance to us. It was amazing to get a glimpse of the Allana so many of you knew as an adult. What it was to see her regularly on Shabbat in her usual spot, even when our spots kept changing. What it was to see her having a really good week just a few weeks ago, back on Shabbat, and to be amazed like, oh, that's the Allana we knew and loved. And to be able to have another one of those conversations where she wanted to talk just briefly about literature and then to have that conversation with me in French where I could not keep up. It was amazing to have another moment like that with her. What was most important to Allana, though, were her family and her friends. Her grandchildren were the joy of her life. She loved each of you so much and what fell about you, in front of you, and even when you weren't looking and listening. It was always the first thing she wanted to talk about was her family and their accomplishments. That's what Allana valued: learning, education, children, family, and love. That's her legacy, a legacy of love. So as now Allana goes and joins her adoring parents, Blanka and William, her beloved grandson Philly, in the heavenly bonds of everlasting life. That's the legacy she will leave with us, a legacy of love, a legacy of love of nearly 48 years with Al. To you, she was more precious than rubies, sweeter than the sweetest wine. A legacy of love to her loving and adoring children, to Eric and his loving wife, Marnie, to David, to Bill and his loving wife, Stephanie. A legacy of love to her cherished stepchildren, to Brian and to Eden. She loved you all so much as one big, beautiful family. A proud grandmother for Hallie, Olivia, Anna, Alexandra, Samantha, Jasmine, Crystal, Xander, Jessica, Jackie. She loved each of you. It says children are the crown of their elders, but grandchildren, these are the glittering jewels in her crown. She leaves behind a legacy of love to her dear cousins and only other family here in town. Dr. Marc and to Claudia, and to their children, Victoria and Erica. She was more like an extended sister than she was a cousin. Allana leaves behind a legacy of love to all of her students, all of her friends, all of her family. We see the words and hear the comfort of Rabbi Milton Steinberg, who said, "We hold on with open arms to the love she had for us. For the pain which a loss inflicts is the measure of a love that is stronger than death. So let us hold on with those open arms tight, and in doing so, may her memory forever be a blessing." Together we say, Amen. Amen. I invite you now to rise in your hearts or in your seats as we usher Allana's soul up into heaven. Ilmeli שוכן במרומים, המצי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים תורים גזר רקיע המזידים, נשמת אלונה חנה בת זאב של כל עולמו. ברחמים יסתירך בשאת כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור ביצרור החיים נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, ותנוח בשלום על משכבנו, ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our beloved Allana, known in the house of Israel as Allana Chana Bat Zaev, who has entered now into eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings. Let her soul be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life. For God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. Amen.
This does conclude the service at the chapel. The family will be receiving condolence calls at Bill and Stephanie Marks' home at 38 St. John Drive in Hawthorne Woods. That'll be today following the interment until 8 p.m., Thursday from 4 p.m. until 9 p.m., and Friday from noon until 4. The address and the hours are posted on the folders. If you didn't get one when you entered, please get one when you leave. It's also posted on our website as well. Interment will take place at Willow Lawn Cemetery in Vernon Hills. The procession will be forming in the parking lot if you're going. Please keep in mind a few safety features. Put your bright headlights on at all times. Put your emergency blinkers on. Attach the orange funeral sticker to the passenger portion of your front windshield. And we will also attach a flag to the roof of your car. And please stay as close as safety permits to the car in front of you. The following people have been selected to serve as pallbearers. When I call your name, please come forward. Adam Levy, Erica Mancini, Dr. Marc Freed, Claudia Freed, Stephanie Marks, and Xander Marks. At this time, I would ask that everyone please rise as the family and Mrs. Marks are escorted from the chapel. Pallbearers, you can one. For you? Sure. But you're gonna step over there. Come this way. Hold this over, so he connects up to your left.